Good afternoon, folks. First video in a while for me. I've been on a bit of a vacation. Today I wanted to show a system I have created to be able to use a query to dynamically represent some data that I wanted to show. Here's my data set. Basically, it's a bunch of donations for some different reasons. So there's date, donation purpose, donation amount, and payment type. So what I wanted to be able to do was dynamically look at some charts and graphs and some data based on looking at different quarters of this data and looking at a full year, all of this year, all of last year. Let me demonstrate what I mean by that. So here's this data in a different sheet here, but here's the data. What I wanted to be able to do here was to look at this data dynamically by different quarters. And here's my quarter 2 drop down, here's my quarter 3, and so forth. And this is for the year 2024. I could switch to 2023. I have a total, and you can see quarter 3 creates the dates 7/1 and 9/30 through 9/30. Here's a quarter 2024 and so forth. It shows you that. And then if I looked at this year, it'd be 1/1 through 12/31. If I looked at last year, it'd be 1/1/23 through 12/31. And if I wanted to see a total of this particular data, it would be 1/1/23 through 12/31/24. So let's take a look at how we were able to build this. Let's start here and let's put in a drop-down menu in column B1, and let's do that using our data validation. We're going to add a rule. This is going to be applied to B1. It's going to be 2023 and 2024. Okay, we'll go ahead and get rid of that, and we'll go ahead and say done. So now I have a drop-down menu with 2023 and 2024. Then my next one is going to be a new drop-down menu in B2, and this is going to be Q1, Q2, Q3. Let's just start with Q4. Okay, great. Say done. So I have a second drop-down menu with my quarters. And maybe I'm going to want to center that. So there we go. We have, and maybe this one I would want to go ahead and also center. Perfect. Now I'm going to use a query, and starting in A4, so to get the dates that we want to use here, we're going to use the switch function. So this is going to be equal to switch, and let's take a look at what it means. You have an expression, and then you have a case 1 and a value. So we're going to take a look at the data that we have in our cell. So the expression, I'm going to get this out of the way for the moment, the expression is going to be what we see in B2. We're going to look at B2, and we're going to say if B2 happens to be Q1, then we want the output to be 1/1/, and then we want to add in, because we want to be able to change the date, we want to add in B1. So let's see what happens. We'll just start with that. So if we have Q1 chosen, our beginning date, by the way, this is our begin date and our end date. Maybe I could go ahead and do this begin date so we're clear, and this is our end date. And so now because that's Q1, we will have the beginning date. We need to do the same thing on the end date. So let's just go ahead and copy this formula. I'm going to go ahead and copy. And then let's come over here and let's go ahead and paste. In this case, though, if B2 is Q1, the ending date is going to be 3/1, or no, 4/1. 4/1 plus B1. So now I have 1/1 to 4/1. Now if I switch to Q2, we're going to get no values. So what we need to do is finish this out. I'm going to go ahead and do that real quickly and paste it in so that you'll see the finished. So I went ahead and typed this out. We can see, we look at B2, and if it's Q1, the date is 1/1 and B1. Q2 is 4/1, Q3 is 7/1, and so forth. Let's go ahead and finish this out here with this next one. Let's go ahead and get all this Q2 stuff in here. We'll go ahead and copy just to show you how I'm going to do this quickly. Come over here. I need to fill this out. Add in my data. So we have Q2 is going to actually, ending date would be Q1 starts at 4/1. And actually, you know, we need to fix that because Q1 would actually end at 3/31. And Q2 would start at would end at 6:30. So 6/30. We got to make sure we got these right. This Q3 would end on 9:30. 9/30 because we're in the ending date, and Q4 would end on 12/31. We can put in a 3 and a 2. Hit enter. Let's see what we got. So quarter 4 starts on October 1st, ends on 12/31. Quarter 3, July, August, September. Quarter 2, April through June, and quarter 1, January through March. But I also want to add something in here. So let's take a look at this. I want to add last year. So I want to add last year, and I want to add this year, and I want to add total. Okay, so I'm going to say done to that. So now I actually have last year, and now I don't have any value. So we have to fix that. So let's go ahead and put in another comma. Well, let's see. Let's highlight some data here. I'm going to highlight my data here. I'm going to put in a comma, and if it's last year, so if the data is last year, the beginning date is going to be 1/1/and B1. Let's go ahead and see if that's what we want. Got an error. What did we do wrong? A parse error. So we need to stop and check that out. Looks like what we're missing is a quotation. 1/1, and it looks like we're missing another quotation. That should do it. So last year, let's widen this out, creates 1/1, well actually that should be 2023, so we actually will hard code that. We won't use the B1. We'll do 2023, and that should take care of it. So last year starts at 1/1/2023. Let's fix up this one. We should be able to grab this. If it says last year, we'll go ahead and copy. Then we'll come over here to our end date. We'll put in a comma and a paste and change that to 12/31 and hit enter. So now we have last year would be all of 2023. So now we need to finish up with this year. So let's go ahead. I'm on the begin date. I'm going to grab this year. I'm going to copy. I'm going to put in a comma. I'm going to paste. And if the text says this year, and that's going to start with 2024, and should be able to hit enter that. If I change to this year, I do have 1/1. This one doesn't have what we need in there, so let's go ahead and think I can use what's on the clipboard. We're going to change this to this year, and that would change to 12/31 of 2024. So there we go. Well, I've got Q1 is going to give me my quarter based on the year that I've chosen. And these all seem to work for my year. And I can switch between those. And then I have last year. And I have this year. And now the last one I need to set up is total. So let's go ahead and get in here one more time. I'm going to do a comma. And I'm going to do a paste. And I'm going to do the word total. T-O-T-A-L. And that's going to be 1/1/2023. That actually works the way we have that set up. And then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to put in total, comma, paste. And this year is going to be 1/1/2024. You know, I think I saw that error there. So last year is going to be 12. This year is going to be 20. That does. This needs to be total. Let's see what we got. If I do total, it starts on 2023. That's correct. And then this total is going to be 12/31/2024. And I've got some kind of an error. What do we have? We are missing a quote somewhere. Total. I got my quotation mark in the wrong place, 12/31. Let's get rid of these guys. I think that should be it. So total is going to give me 1/1/23 through 12/31. This year is 1/1/24 to 12/31. Last year is 23 to 23. And if we're using quarters, we end up with whatever quarter, whatever year we've chosen. So summary of using the switch function using the switch function on this, in this cell and in this cell to actually create my dates that I needed. So now we're ready to build our query. I think I'll put it in A1. This will just be a quick equals query, and we'll just start with, we're going to query this data set, which is this data set right here, and then we're going to select, in this case, we're going to select everything in this case. Sometimes you would only select parts. We're just going to select everything and go ahead and hit enter. And you can see one thing I'll do right away is lock the row here, and we'll go ahead and make that bold. And then we can select this and go ahead and double click there so we can get that kind of looking the way we want. So right now we do not have a dynamic chart. We're just selecting everything in the query, basically duplicating the data. But what I want to do is have this select function. I wanted to select it where the dates are equal to whatever dates we've chosen here. So let's see how we do that. So let's take a look at the query. I've gone ahead and pasted it in because it's a bit, but let me go over the parts and pieces of this query. So what we're doing here, let's zoom in a little bit. So this query, we're querying A to D, we're selecting everything where A is greater than or equal to the date. Now, when you use dates in a query, you have to be careful. You have to wrap them in this format. So this format is basically saying this is the format we use if we're using text. So single quote, double quote, ampersand, and then we're actually using the text function to convert what we see here to a date, year, month, day, which is what we have to do to work with dates. So we're getting everything where C2 is greater than whatever date is in here, and we're using an AND function in this select function, and A is less than the date we see in D2. And again, just a reminder, single quote, double quote, ampersand, whatever my text is, and then ampersand, single quote, or double quote, single quote, and then wrapping the whole query. If dates actually worked like you would want them to, we could just say C2 wrapped in single quote, double quote, ampersand. But because of the way dates work in queries, we have to wrap it like this. So that's what the function looks like. And I should be able to go ahead and get out of there. And you can see now if I switch to Q1, there's my data. Let's go ahead and just see here how this would work with my totals. So I want this to be the sum of whatever's in here, and we'll just go down, C59. We will actually just finish that with whatever is in column C. So there's 27,000. Now we can go ahead and make that a little bigger. We can make it bold. We could make it red. So there's my total. And now if I switch to Q2, there's my total. Q3, this is a dynamic chart. And then we could go to total. We could go to this year. We could go to last year. So now that we have learned how to use the switch function and develop our query, let's finish building out this chart with basically the rest of the formatting. I might want to go ahead and take a couple of things here just to make it clear that what these columns here stand for. I think I'll make these here. If you're going to use the quarter function, you're going to, and we'll go ahead and center that, you're going to have to choose your quarter. And we might even call this something, choose option. And then if you're using the quarter, you have to do those years. Let's go ahead and make that bold a little bigger. Let's go ahead and make our these a little bigger. Let's center them, maybe something like that. Maybe we'll even turn the text color some kind of a darker green. And we could center this. Okay, so we're basically kind of where we want to be. One of the other things I wouldn't mind doing here is taking this data. Let's go ahead and choose total. So I've got all the data here. I'm going to do a Command Shift down on my Mac. I'm going to select all that data. That's all the rows of data, including all years. And then I'm going to insert a pivot table. And I'm going to put it on an existing sheet. And I'm going to go ahead and put that pivot table, I think I'll put that pivot table right here. And go ahead and create that pivot table. And then what I'd like to do with this pivot table is put the date in my rows. I'm going to drag that into my rows. Now that gives me all the dates. So what I want to do is create a pivot date group by year month. And now I just have my years and months, and then I will grab my donation amount and we'll put that down here in my values. So now as I switch to quarter one, my pivot table dynamically, oops, we put that in the wrong place. So let's move this chart, let's move this pivot table up. In fact, let's just X that out of there. Let's go up to the top of my sheet, and we were going to put that right there. Okay, so there's my pivot table. Notice as I go this year, I go last year, and my dates all function. I get my same total amounts that I have with this other. Now, one thing I would like to do is build a chart. So let's narrow this down a little bit, maybe narrow this one down a little bit. I want to build some charts, and the charts are going to be built out of this data here. We'll do a chart amount on donation purpose. So what we'll do is let's actually do this with our total. Let's do Command Shift down. So we're basically just collecting that that data there, and let's go ahead and build a chart with that. Here's our donation. Of course, I put that at the bottom of the sheet. Let's go ahead and undo that and make sure that we are in the right place. So there's my first chart, and then let's go ahead and do our payment type. And what I've done here is go on Command Shift down, and then I just want to do a Command up, a Command Shift down to select all that. But then I want to make sure that my cursor is actually up here. I'm going to go ahead and put in another chart, and this is my payment type. And those two charts kind of sit side by side. I could be doing some modifications on these charts, but I can leave that up to you on how you might want your chart to look. Then the other thing I would like to do is I don't really need any of these columns to the right, so I'm going to select them all, delete them, and then I like the looks of this if I get rid of the grid line, so it looks almost more like a dashboard. So now I have a chart that looks similar to what I demonstrated. I have one last piece to put in here, and that is another if statement. I'm just going to go ahead and copy this one from my other piece here to make it a little quicker. And in this cell, I'm going to go ahead and paste this formula. So this is going to give me, I'll go ahead and make that bold. This formula is basically saying it's a bunch of ifs statements. So if B2 is this year, we're going to use the year. And if B2 is last year, we're going to take the year today minus 1. If it's total, we're going to take 23, 24. And otherwise, we're going to put in, we're going to use, if we're Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, we're going to pull whatever years here. So if I switch this to Q1, notice this becomes 2024. If I choose this to 2023, and notice my dynamic chart changes now as I select my different quarters, and I can select different years, and my chart is dynamic in giving me my totals and my chart. Hope you find this interesting. Thank you.